opportunities that lies within the region. So in today's episode, we zoom in on the fast-growing world of data centers and the critical role they play in powering Southeast Asia's digital economy. As more governments push for digital transformation and businesses move workloads to the cloud, the need for secure, high-speed, interconnected data infrastructure has never been greater. But what does that mean for cities, for talent, and for sustainability? Joining us from Equinix, one of the world's leading digital infrastructure providers, is Cyrus Adaggra, President of Equinix Asia Pacific. Thank you so much, Cyrus, for joining us today. Let's get right into it. So carrier-neutral data centers are often called the modern ports of Southeast Asia's digital economy. Could you help us understand that comparison a bit more? Why are these facilities now considered just as vital as seaports or airports for enabling trade for this region?
Hi, Lila, and thanks for having me on the show. Yes, look, today's economy is a digital-first economy, and just like goods flow through airports and seaports, data now essentially flows through carrier-neutral data centers. These hubs are where networks, clouds, platforms, and enterprises meet and exchange traffic and essentially collaborate and partner with each other. In Southeast Asia in particular, where cross-border trade, cloud adoption, and AI usage are really surging, these neutral hubs are the critical gateways enabling the digital economy. They enable businesses to scale quickly, to reach new markets and connect globally with low latency and high reliability, all without being locked into a single telecommunications or cloud provider. At Equinix, for example, we operate more than 270 data centers. We operate in 75 metros and in 35 markets across 6 continents. We serve as the digital equivalent of international airports, where data is exchanged between different customers, in the same way that an international airport serves as a central hub where passengers and goods from different places converge, connect and transfer to different destinations. Equinix operates data centers in that manner to serve the same purpose for data. So whilst most people take it for granted, there's really a complex series of interactions that need to happen to make everything work, from browsing the web to online shopping to powering financial markets, Instagram, or even Netflix. All of these digital interactions happen in Equinix data centers.
And Cyrus, Equinix already operates in Singapore, Jakarta, and Kuala Lumpur, and also Johor Bahru, and now you're expanding into the Philippines. When you're considering entering a new market, what's the first and the most important thing you look at? Is it power pricing, maybe perhaps policy clarity or demand, or something else entirely?
So at Equinix, we put customers at the center of everything we do. And so our number one driver when we think about new markets is always customer demand. It's the first signal we look for, and it's the primary signal we look for, especially from our global and regional customers who want to expand into new metros. But for us to act on that demand, we need 3 critical conditions to align. Firstly, there has to be reliable power and land. There has to be robust connectivity, so fiber, and long-term economic viability of that market, which essentially is economic growth. So we also consider how a market fits into our broader Southeast Asia strategy. For example, in the Philippines, which is one of the region's fastest growing digital economies, cloud usage is increasing very dramatically. There's strong demand for AI-ready infrastructure and a large developer and enterprise base. And that made it a natural next step in the evolution of Equinix's Asia-Pacific strategy. And so specifically in the Philippines, the digital economy there last year reached over US $445 billion. It accounted for almost 10% of the country's gross domestic product. And the country is experiencing a surge in demand for digital infrastructure, driven by a highly engaged digital population, a booming e-commerce market, and various government initiatives at promoting digitization, such as the National Broadband Plan and the Digital Philippines campaign. And so when we entered the Philippines market, we did it with the support of Equinix's ongoing global expansion, the strength of our leadership position in the Asia-Pacific region, and it presented opportunities to expand into new market segments in the Philippines. And then finally, we also have a support services hub in Manila with more than 220 employees driving service delivery and technical excellence across the region and across the globe, across all of our operations.
And we're also seeing a push from smaller cities like Penang, Cebu, and Da Nang to attract data center investments. What tells you that an edge metro is truly ready for a facility? Is there a threshold in population size or cable landings or perhaps enterprise density that tips the scale into this favor?
So it comes back to the three things that I said previously. When we look at a new metro or a new country, we essentially look for, first and foremost, customer demand signals. Customers are at the center of everything we do. And so we talk to our customers on a constant basis, and they tell us about their growing needs in these new markets. We also do a lot of market research, so we understand from local enterprises as well as cloud providers and other digital platforms that require low latency, localized contents delivery, or even compliance with data residency requirements. And so all of those customer-related data demand drivers impact on where we go and when we go there. The second thing that we look for is network density and strategic fiber connectivity. So what that means in plain English is that we need to know that there are multiple network service providers or direct fiber routes that connect to a major regional hub. So edge locations, for example, in Malaysia, we would want them to connect back to Singapore. But Malaysia also has a number of local telco providers. So without that underlying network fabric, data centers are essentially just islands. And if you're an island, you can't deliver the performance or the resiliency that our customers expect. And so strong network density is a must. And then finally, regulatory clarity and infrastructure readiness. So we need reliable, scalable access to power. Essentially, we are providing connectivity, space, and power to our customers. And so power is an absolute must. And so with power, obviously, comes land. So we need to assess the land availability, the zoning laws, the environmental permitting, and alignment with national digital infrastructure strategies. So cities that offer clear, supportive frameworks for interconnectivity, for power and for land, as well as fiber, are the drivers of when we go to a new edge metro. And we're seeing new edge metros evolve beyond just mere satellites to core cities. Malaysia is a good example of where the edge is spreading to in Kuala Lumpur. But we've also invested heavily across strategic ASEAN markets to help businesses meet the demands of AI and digital transformation. So most recently, we entered the Philippines by acquiring 3 data centers in Manila. We completed a new phase in KL1 Phase 2, and a new AI-ready data center in Jakarta. We've also announced an intention to invest $500 million in Thailand in phases over the next decade, including a recent land acquisition for just over $30 million. And so we now have a strong presence in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and an upcoming entry into Thailand, which will all allow businesses to interconnect and exchange data across the ASEAN region.
And Cyrus, governments across ASEAN are rolling out perhaps tax holidays, land grants, and even fast-track permits to woo operators. In your view, which of these incentives actually moves the needle the most when it comes to return on investment ROI?
Sure. So look, the governments in Southeast Asia have been actually very proactive in accelerating digital infrastructure development. So a good example of that is the formation of the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone, which helped create a digital corridor that facilitates real-time cross-border data flow, supporting industries that are reliant on low latency applications such as fintech, healthcare, and even advanced manufacturing. In the Philippines, there are various government initiatives to promote digitization, such as the National Broadband Plan and the Digital Philippines campaign. And then the Southeast Asian region's digital economy is on track to reach over $600 billion in gross merchandise value by 2030. To support that growth, the region requires really robust digital infrastructure as more businesses integrate AI into their operations. And so we are accelerating the development of AI-ready digital infrastructure through significant investment and expansion in Malaysia, the Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand across all of APAC. But to answer your original question, yes, tax holidays are helpful, land grants are helpful, fast-track permits are helpful, but ultimately the biggest driver of ROI for us is customer demand. And so we will go where our customers require us to be, so long as those three critical elements of power, land, and fiber are available.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's still a lot to unpack on the fast-growing world of data centers and the critical role they play in powering Southeast Asia's digital economy with Cyrus Adaggra, President of Equinix Asia Pacific. But we'll take a short break. We'll be right back after this.
Ayah aku mati sebab cakra. Selagi cakra masih ada, jiwa aku tak tenang.
Hari ini kita berdepan dengan ancaman yang serius yang didatangkan oleh sekumpulan pemberontak yang kita sendiri tahu, organisasi Cakra.
Untuk kalahkan cakra, we need a new set of eyes and ears.
Event government tu pun semakin dekat. Siapa yang you nak rekrut untuk penetrate Cakra? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
You tahu kan tanggungjawab yang you akan tanggung?
Kau nak apa sebenarnya ni?
Saya nak awak masuk cakra, jadi orang kepercayaan Aziz.
Tak bahaya ke?
Saya akan ada dengan awak. Every step of the way, saya akan pastikan awak selamat.
Aku nak kau monitor Surya. Aku tak nak siapa-siapa tahu pasal benda ni.
Bersama-sama rakyat kita akan bangkit. Kuasa rakyat.
Honey Trap. Stream episod terbaru dahulu, eksklusif on demand dan 9 malam di Astro Citra.
Jiwa SME Astro AWANI kembali ke Ipoh. Ayo koma jumpa teman di AEON Mall Kinta City pada 28 dan 29 Jun. Naik taraf perniagaan anda dalam dunia SME bersama penaja utama Unify Business serta rakan strategik kami. Dibawakan oleh penaja utama jelajah Jiwa SME, Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
Heroes kembali di saluran 100.
Change the world, no matter what.
Menegakkan keadilan dengan cara tersendiri. Mempertahankan kebenaran. Melindungi dari kuasa halus. Allahu Akbar.
Marilah tepat petualang bangsa.
Bersama kita bangkit lebih teguh.
I got this.
Stream semua hero kegemaran anda di saluran 100 dan Astro Go. Bila-bila masa, apa jua cara.
When the superpowers move, the ground shifts. Power isn't just about might anymore. It's about narratives, networks, negotiation. We go beyond the noise to deliver laser-focused analysis on how power moves and what it means for the world. This is AWANI International, reporting the shifts in power affairs shaping the world.
Welcome back on ASEAN Kita, where we're still with Cyrus Adaggra of Equinix to unpack on the fast-growing world of data centers and the critical role they play in powering Southeast Asia's digital economy. So, Cyrus, we've seen an uptick in data localization laws, particularly in countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand. So, from Equinix perspective, do these fragmented rules make regional integration harder? Or are they simply creating more localized demand for your services?
So that's a great question. It's quite complex because the volume of data that enterprises need to manage continues to grow exponentially as regulations around data locality, residency, and sovereignty simultaneously continue to multiply across multiple jurisdictions worldwide. And this essentially drives local demand for data centers. Companies have to be vigilant about keeping up with rapidly evolving national and regional policies around who can access specific data, how it's collected, processed, and stored, and where it's accessed from or transferred to. and it's getting more and more complicated every day. Because data-reliant applications like artificial intelligence have become prevalent, effective data governance is essential to ensuring transparency and compliance with emerging regulations. And this means that customers need to consider what's required to access the data, knowing exactly which path the data will flow to its destination. And before they can establish data governance policies, businesses need to understand local laws and how those laws impact where they can generate, collect, and store data. The good news is that Equinix's AI-ready data centers are strategically located in the world's most connected markets, and we provide a scalable infrastructure foundation that enterprises can use to advance their AI capabilities. As I mentioned before, we've got over 270 data centers around the world, and our global portfolio allows customers to place, interconnect, and securely govern their data anywhere in the world. And we offer the only global platform with different types of data centers, a dense ecosystem of clouds and service providers, as well as on-demand virtual interconnection services.
And Cyrus, data centers are often criticized for being power and water intensive. Could you share Equinix's latest regional performance when it comes to power usage effectiveness and water usage effectiveness as well? And what measures are being taken to bring those numbers down over time?
Sure. And so at Equinix, sustainability is a core part of our strategy. We're committed to operating efficient, low-impact data centers across Southeast Asia and the world. So to share some stats with you, in 2024, our average annual global power usage effectiveness was just under 1.4, with newer upgraded sites in Asia trending even lower than that. Our global water usage effectiveness was 0.95, reflecting our efforts to both optimize cooling and reduce water use in our data centers. But to improve these metrics, we're investing in new technologies like liquid cooling, direct-to-chip, or rear-door heat exchangers, which enable even better performance with less energy and water use. We're also incorporating AI into our operational controls to optimize the cooling based on real-time load and climate data. We also have heat reuse systems in select sites to redirect waste heat for local benefit. For example, in Amsterdam, one of our sites actually heats a local university. And we also design all our new data centers, including AI-ready facilities in Jakarta, with energy usage and sustainability certifications as our #1 priority. We invested over $50 million just in energy efficiency improvements in 2024, resulting in a 6% year-on-year improvement in our power usage effectiveness across all of our operations. And I don't need to tell you, in Southeast Asia's really tropical climates, this becomes an even higher challenge. But we continue to pilot advanced technologies that balance thermal efficiency, renewable energy use, and water conservation to align with our corporate net zero goals and local sustainability regulations.
Power and water intensive has been an issue, but also talent is a recurring theme across Southeast Asia, particularly in engineering and infrastructure. So how is Equinix approaching the challenge of recruiting, training and retaining skilled data center professionals in the region?
Yeah, so we have talent development as a core priority at Equinix. We need talent to both scale our operations across Southeast Asia, as well as all of the digital economies across the globe. So we work with local universities, with vocational institutions, and workforce boards to build long-term talent pipelines. We use internships and graduate hiring programs tailored for critical infrastructure roles at our data centers. We're focused on making the data center industry more diverse, more inclusive, with talent initiatives aimed at both underrepresented groups and underrepresented minorities. In markets like the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia, we are localizing our hiring and training efforts to reflect the community's needs while aligning with our global standards of operational excellence. We're also exploring strategic reskilling partnerships to support career switching into data center fields from adjacent industries such as telecommunications, utilities, and engineering. And so we take a holistic approach, not just to bringing people into Equinix and into the data center industry, but training them for life.
And Cyrus, on the hardware front, the Trump era technology tariffs are expected to raise costs on critical server and networking equipment. How are those tariff pressures affecting your capex in Southeast Asia, and what's the strategy here for managing or minimizing that cost impact?
So this is obviously an evolving situation, but at the moment we don't expect a significant near-term impact in ASEAN due to our diversified global supply chain and strategic sourcing approach. We've already pre-purchased over $500 million of critical components and sub-assembly inventory. We've staged it across lots of different locations, supplying deployments in ASEAN through all of 2025, 6 and 2027. The largest cost pressure from tariffs is probably like to hit us in the lithium-ion batteries, but they only represent a very small fraction of our overall data center build costs. And we prioritize sourcing from local and regional manufacturers in ASEAN where quality and performance standards can be met, which also helps to mitigate the tariff exposure. And then finally, we're continuously evaluating opportunities to migrate our supply chain into ASEAN countries to optimize costs and reduce geopolitical risk. And then at Equinix, we essentially actively monitor these tariff developments. And because it is a fluid situation, we try to make sure that all of our raw material availability is on a consistent basis to ensure resilient, cost-effective builds across all of our markets.
And Cyrus, looking ahead to 2030, how does Equinix see the data center map of Southeast Asia evolving roughly? Perhaps how many metros are you planning to recover by then? And do you foresee a more connected, integrated grid or a patchwork of country-by-country builds?
Sure. So I think by 2030, we envision a Southeast Asia where digital infrastructure is deeply integrated across borders, enabling faster, more secure and more seamless data exchange between economies. Rather than fragmentation, we actually expect to see greater alignment and connectivity, especially as governments, enterprises, cloud providers prioritize digital transformation at scale. And so our vision is not one of number of metros, but rather to support a highly integrated digital ecosystem in Southeast Asia by interconnecting all of our facilities in the region, which will enable enterprises, cloud providers and networks to connect across borders to power the AI revolution, cloud adoption and digital first operations. I think we'll also continue to expand our presence strategically across both of our established core hubs as well as emerging new metros. Our goal isn't just to be present in more locations. It's, as I say, to build a cohesive, interconnected platform that supports the region's evolving needs across various sectors as well as the government. And while infrastructure maturity varies by country, Equinix is building a unified regional platform that supports consistent customers, multi-metro deployments with consistent performance, compliance and sustainability standards. We're investing in infrastructure that empowers customers to scale regionally with confidence whilst meeting local compliance and sustainability and performance expectations. And so we see Southeast Asia's digital landscape continuing to evolve, but it becoming more connected, more collaborative, and more critical to global innovation. Finally, Southeast Asia's diversity is a strength. And at Equinix, we're committed to providing localized support alongside global scalability to help our businesses here and across the world grow with confidence across the entire region.
Cyrus, I want to bring this conversation to a bit more personal lens on your side. So you've spent quite some time in digital infrastructure across several continents. What originally drew you to Equinix and what keeps the role exciting for you in the Asia-Pacific market?
Yeah, so look, I was drawn to the data center industry and Equinix in particular, purely from the ability to have impact. We run the biggest, largest global data center platform on the planet. And what we do every day is help people to connect. We help people to live their lives, to learn, to grow, to work and to play. And it's an amazing feeling being part of a business and an industry that's helping people all across the globe and powering the economies of many, many countries.
And then Equinix talks a lot about its magic culture internally. If you had to describe that culture, what would it be and why?
Sure. So one of the things that struck me when I first joined Equinix was just how collaborative our company was. Everywhere I went, no matter what city, no matter what data center, colleagues constantly wanted to reach out and to help you on your journey at Equinix. And that feeling of being welcomed into a family, being supported, it is genuinely a magical feeling. And so the way I describe it is coming to a family and just a really collegiate and collaborative workplace.
Mm-hmm. And Cyrus, I think this is my final question for you. Is running, I know running a region as diverse as APAC means juggling very different market realities. How do you overcome this type of challenges? How do you manage to steer your team into becoming the Equinix that they are today?
Sure. And so one of the things that I'm always very keen to reinforce with people is that we operate as a region, but we execute locally. And so understanding the nuances in Australia versus Singapore versus Japan versus Southeast Asia, Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia is really critical to success. You can't take a cookie cutter approach to how you execute in these markets. And so spending time in the markets, understanding the nuances, understanding what our customers need in those markets is critical to our success. And so that's what we do. We think globally, we execute locally.
We'd like to thank Cyrus Adaggra, President of Equinix Asia Pacific, on his insights on the fast-growing world of data centers and the critical role they play in powering Southeast Asia's digital economy. And that brings us to the end of this episode, and also my final one as the host of ASEAN Kita. It's been a privilege to unpack these stories, challenges and opportunities that lies within the region. I truly hope these conversations have helped spark understanding and reflection about Southeast Asia's heading. And while I may be signing off, the show will go on with new voices, new perspective and more stories that matters. Thank you for the trust, the time and for tuning in. I'm Raiman signing off for one last time on ASEAN Kita. Take care and goodbye.